Hey there, I'm Marty Sakata, host of Brazilian Alpha. You might know me from the Ivy Family Office Network, almost 3 decades of family office and big shots, collaborating on alternative investments, strategy, and good causes. That's the fuel for this podcast. Why Resilient Alpha? Simple. Why do some funds and managers crush it and others crash? We're cracking that code, redefining alpha, and bringing top brains to unpack asset classes and hot alpha ideas. We're going full throttle. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Shelley O'Donovan is our co-host today. She is the CEO of the Authentic Influence Group. She teaches persuasive speaking at the Wharton School, and she has myriad experience and focuses on cultivating authentic influence and finding what makes people tick. Shelley has an MPA from University of Pennsylvania and a marketing certificate from the Wharton School. She is an expert in body language training and the Big Five personalities.
I am Shelley O'Donovan from the Authentic Influence Group, but today I'm actually your host for Resilient Alpha. And it is my absolute pleasure to welcome on the program today with us Chad Stender, who's the managing partner over at 76 Capital, right here in Philadelphia. Chad has worked in professional sports. He has been an entrepreneur and a venture capitalist for over a decade. He focuses on deal sourcing, leads finance and operations, and investor relations for the fund. He's been awarded the 2018 Philadelphia Business Journal's 40 Under 40, which is a very coveted spot in Philadelphia, and the 2018 Southern New Jersey Business People's 40 Under 40. Prior to 76 Capital, he's worked for the Philadelphia Flyers and Comcast Spectacors. And any of you would know that these are big Philadelphia names, and 76 Capital in particular is just a great company in the region and really one of our shining gems that we like to highlight. Chad is a graduate of James Madison University, and he received his master's degree right here from Pennsylvania over at East Stroudsburg University. So with that, Chad, I would like to welcome you to Resilient Alpha today.
The content here is for informational purposes only, should not be taken as legal, business, tax, or investment advice, or be used to evaluate any investment or security, and is not directed at any investors or potential investors in any featured fund or deals on this video.
So welcome today to beautiful Philadelphia. I'm excited to be here today with Chad Stender from 76 Capital. I'm here with Resilient Alpha, and we're excited to talk to Chad today about what's going on in the space that he works in. So first, I would like you to introduce yourself and just tell me a little bit about what 76 Capital does. They've been in Philadelphia a long time. I feel that like they're a Philadelphia institution, and they're just, one of these proud spots that Philadelphia has.
Thank you. Shelley, it's great to see you. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely.
76 Capital, we're a venture fund. It's our 26th year.
Wow.
Which is wild in venture. Always focused across early stage technology, and we've spent the last 10 years focused on the overall sports asset class. I'm a managing partner at 76 Capital, and we're kind of one of the leaders, one of the pod pipers in saying this is the next big opportunity for venture. Not just stateside, but globally. There were a lot of trends happening in Asia and Europe across gaming and sports betting, esports, that we felt like really hadn't taken hold maybe here in the States and North America. And the use of data and analytics was ripe to disrupt what today has really blossomed into this massive multi-trillion-dollar investment asset class. And fortunately, we saw around the corner and attacked it, and a lot has gone our way.
Yeah, that's exciting. So tell me about some of the things that you have going on. I know that you do some work with DraftKings and some other folks that are just really in that space. And so it's exciting work. And I think it's something that family offices might have an interest in as well. And it feels like it's an up and coming thing, but obviously you've been around for 26 years, so it's really not. But it's really blossoming, as you said.
Yeah. No, we do too. This is a perfect space for family offices, RIAs. You're seeing a lot of family offices go onto the team side, A lot of the team owners are taking the wealth that they've made across other industries, specifically a lot of tech owners, a lot of finance capital, and coming to the team side. And what we see the opportunity is to invest in the technology, the innovation, the disruption that's going to make the teams more valuable, the leagues more valuable. So it's a big emphasis for us. But you're right. We've been fortunate. We're on to our third fund.
Wow.
And we've sold portfolio companies to DraftKings. We sold another portfolio company to Fubo TV. And then more recently, our company C360, which most people know as the pylon cams. You see these pylons on the fields of NFL and college. The technology and the usage of it was acquired by this company called Cosm.
Okay.
And they are kind of like the Sphere in Vegas, but they're in Dallas and LA, expanding to Detroit and Atlanta. And it's this incredible, engaging atmosphere, more like an IMAX and a Sphere if you blend them together. And it's this immersive entertainment play. And they acquired our company, C360, for that technology to bring that to fruition. So we've had a lot of great exits. We have some on the horizon. But
you can't talk about it, yeah.
It's the right time. It's the right space.
Right.
I mean, when you think about sports, it's the last bastion of live entertainment.
Right.
And almost every year, it's over 90% of the live entertainment, the top viewership, it's all sports related. It's heavily football, but it's all sports related. Last year, it dropped into the 80s. It was a presidential year, so you got some of that blended in.
Right.
But normally, you're in the high 90% of live entertainment is dominated by sports.
Interesting. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your alpha strategy and what that might look like and how that plays out in this particular industry.
Sure.
Do I call it an industry, or
I think an industry and in an asset class, it's in the trillions. But you're starting to see the banks come around to it too.
Okay.
Within the last year, you have now JP Morgan has a banking division focused on sports. Same for Goldman.
Exciting.
CNBC also has their own dedicated channel, CNBC/sports, just to cover this industry from the business side of it. So it's really happening. And for us, for 26 years, it's always get in early, find incredible entrepreneurs, obviously invest in them, but do everything you can with them. And that's really, I think, where we cut our teeth as far as the value we add, being able to identify. We see almost 200 opportunities every month now.
Wow.
So it's an amazing amount of deal flow, but really using our process and our systems to be able to find the top companies, in countries,
right,
and get our capital and work with them to build. And we actually, 2 of those 3 exits I mentioned, we orchestrated. We were really instrumental in the outcome for them. And that's some of the strengths we have at 76 Capital. But I think being the leader in the space, our brand is synonymous. When people are saying I'm innovating and disrupting in sports, it's talk to 76 Capital. They're the ones you want to, and that's a focus for us, and that's what we're looking to do.
Interesting. So I'm just curious about the entrepreneurs that you're attracting. You must be attracting such interesting folks in this space. What are some of the new things, or any of them, that you can talk about what's happening in the space?
You're seeing the most talented entrepreneurs that are using the latest technology to innovate. And what you're finding is, maybe they were doing search or social.
Right.
But now they have the opportunity to take it into sports and gaming and betting, using data, using AI, but just a different form. How can they help an athlete? How can they transform what the fans' experience is like? And it's just this new generation of entrepreneurs. And for us, having the experience of identifying the entrepreneur, being able to work with, attract the deals we want and get in at great value, it's really been a strategic advantage for us. And also understanding what it is to invest in sports betting or gaming. There's red tape, there's licensing.
Right.
Because you have to think of the tribal jurisdictions, the states. Every state has their own rules and regulations. So myself, my partner, Wayne Kimmel, we've been licensed across over 50 different states and jurisdictions, fingerprints, our grades, our credit card statements. So there's a lot to do, but it also has created a really big moat and advantage for us, understanding the industry and knowing where to get in.
Interesting. So I'm curious, there's some common misperceptions about alpha and private markets, and I'm curious how that plays out in sports and this industry.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. We're isolated from some of the larger macro trends. What you're seeing are these team values going up exponentially. The Boston Celtics just sold for $6.1 billion. Wow. And the crazy part about that, Shelley, is the Celtics don't even own their own venue that they play in. So it's really just a team asset sale. Right. You're seeing the leagues becoming more and more valuable. The NFL's media rights deal was $113 billion. The NBA's media deal, $77 billion. And then all of a sudden, women's sports, finally, it's so awesome. It's such a movement. And so now it's not just the big four, right? Soccer's valuable, women's sports, and these leagues are thinking globally. So some of these almost trends that you're seeing in other industries and other asset classes aren't being affected. Rather, we're in a growing area.
Okay.
It's more about an education. What we're finding is families, different investment groups want to tap into this. They're just not sure what's right for them or where to play into. And we've seen this, though, across the last 10 years of the interest increasing. And for us, it's early stage venture. So they're comfortable with that. It's just kind of understanding why this is the next big opportunity. And once they do, it's been great.
Okay. And so tell me about how you help them to understand how it is the next big opportunity. What kind of things would you say if I was a family office sitting here?
Sure. No, it's everything from, doing the podcast, kind of being on the speaking circuits, the big tentpole events, your Super Bowls, your NCAA Final Fours are really attracting and becoming business conferences alongside the big games. And it's seeing the families there, meeting them where they're at. Because you do one of three things. You yourself are an athlete, you want to be entertained by sports, or you have the youth movement. You have kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews that are enthralled in this industry. So it's really meeting the people where they're at. We do a number of different social media. Wayne also has a podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's getting our messaging out there, hosting events, a lot of white paper style of just explaining and telling. But also we have the exits, we have the outcomes, we have we have the success that we can report on now because we've been in this since 2015, 2016.
Interesting. And how do you judge certain opportunities and decide whether they're big enough to really generate sustainable or substantial alpha?
Sure. For us, it's going back to the principles of venture, right? How can a company grow across 4, 5, 6 years and exit at multiples? For us, we underwrite everything on at least a 10x.
Okay.
So it's knowing the technology that we want to go into, and we're really big on platform and picks and shovels as the analogies go. But understanding if an industry is growing exponentially, take sports betting, for example. The first year, so PASPA was the law that repealed, PASPA was repealed back in 2018, so almost 7 years ago.
Okay.
And at that time, it was only legal to bet on sports inside Nevada, right? And the law changed. And then all of a sudden, each state was allowed to regulate themselves. And a lot of people thought maybe it would have, roll that into 10 states, 15 states. Well, as we sit here today, again, 7 years later, May 14th of 2018 forward, we're in 39 states, plus DC. Canada had their version of a PASPA movement. And the industry has grown from 8 billion bet in regulated dollars that first year in 2018 to last year was $148 billion.
Wow, that's
and the
incredible.
Crazy part, Shelley, only half our country lives in a state that has regulated sports.
Wow.
We still do not have California, Texas, Georgia.
Interesting.
So it's that kind of industry that is growing exponentially. And if we're investing across platforms that are moving with it, and obviously you invest in the right companies, you're going to have that success.
And I've got to sit here and assume that those markets will come at some point, those other states will come on board. Do you have any sense of that? Or
We'll see. Unless it happens federally, we do not think all 50 states. We think there's still going to be a couple holdouts.
Okay.
But we'll probably get to 43, 44. And also there's iGaming. So online gaming, and that's only at a handful of states, 6 or 7 states. So that's probably the next big movement
of
opportunity that's kind of adjacent to sports betting. But this is a massive market that very few are focused on. And we saw the opportunity and attacked it.
That's great. And so tell me if there are misconceptions about Alpha in this marketplace, or just any misconceptions about this in general, right? The sports industry.
The biggest misconception is that this is not an investable asset class. That was really the learning and understanding that we've been going through across the last 10 years of explaining and showing just how large this is, the trillions of dollars globally.
Okay.
And that comes into the value of the teams and the leagues, the media rights, again, sports betting and gaming.
Right.
And then you bring into this youth movement. And youth sports is one of the only recession-proof industries out there. When times get tough, families tighten up,
right,
but spend more on their kids and make those weekend tournaments into weekend trips with the family. And it's in that youth sports, if you have kids that are playing sports, you understand how large of an opportunity this is. And then the part that we really haven't touched on is what's happened in the college space.
Right. So tell me about that.
Across NIL. So it's a mess right now. It's still, there's in between with the NCAA and what's happening, and athletes now are allowed to monetize their name, image, and likeness. There's still regulation. There's a very big House decision coming down this Monday.
Oh,
as we sit here and tape this. So it's forever changing, but the amount of dollars and the visibility that college sports, it's in some cases, some think it's the minor leagues of the pros, and in some cases it's rivals the professional sports. And we'll see what happens, but these athletes some of them are making over $10 million a year.
Wow, that's incredible.
To play in college, which before it was about the education and the scholarship.
Right.
It has changed, and I'm one of the believers, and us at 76 Capital, this is a moment.
Right.
This is massive, and it's long overdue. But we believe that there's going to be a lot of private dollars and a lot of investment opportunities flowing into college sports as things continue to play through.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a student one year who was a baseball player and didn't have much financial background from his family. And this is years ago. And he's basically sleeping on the floor in people's dorm rooms to go to tournaments and do things. And so, and one of the star players. So it's interesting now that we're seeing this shift, and maybe athletes can get something for all the work they put in. So the one thing you just said there too was this decision's coming down on Monday. And so that leads me to think just about the regulatory environment and how that has affected, these investments and how you plan things. So I wonder if you can speak a bit to that.
Sure. I think it's across a couple different verticals that we're investing in, specifically on the sports betting and the gaming. We work with the top gaming attorneys. That's a big piece, right? Always knowing who to go to, who the professionals are. There's always a little bit of a hedge, and what we don't do is we don't step into the unregulated, the illegal. We stay clear of that area. But it is dynamic, and you always see that when innovation happens. Think about Uber, right? Think about Airbnb. They're still having issues in municipalities and states today. But what they did at those moments of saying you're going to use your private vehicle to pick up people on the street, that's nuts when you think about it. It is when you think about it. Yeah. We're going to walk outside and grab an Uber and off we go.
Exactly.
And same borrowing people's houses for the weekend.
Right.
And so you're seeing some of that in sports as it plays through, maybe not one-to-one, but anytime innovation happens, you do have to push a little and work across. But there's a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's an exciting space. And I'm curious how you think about liquidity in this space, and if you can, tell me a little bit how that works in this particular sector.
Right. There's a lot of liquidity opportunities. You're seeing a lot of M&A opportunities. I think you're going to see a lot of private equity plays. And the biggest part, the global technology players, your Amazons, your Googles, your Apples, they're all getting into the media rights game.
Interesting.
Right? If you wanted to watch football this past NFL season, and they already took the rights for next season on Christmas Day, you had to have Netflix.
Right.
Netflix is now in live sports as their stock continues to move up and up and up.
Right.
So it's not just your traditional Fox and Disney that have the rights. You now have your global tech players. And they're always thinking about innovation, doing things differently. And so they're going to be your big acquirers. That's really part of our core belief. But as you said, we've had a number of exits and we have a number on the horizon. So this is an industry that's growing exponentially, but also is moving very quickly. And while we're it is a crazy macro moment, but we'll continue to see a number of acquisitions, roll-ups, and some IPO.
Okay.
But I think you're going to see more M&A over the next couple of years here.
Interesting. And so looking ahead, what other trends do you see? So you're telling me a little bit here, but can you expand on that and tell me what other trends you see?
We're constantly following what's happening in the latest technology. So if you take out sports, it's you can't say anything without the use of AI.
Right, absolutely.
Right? But augmented reality, mixed reality is playing in a big play into viewership. But the biggest thing that we feel like is the opportunity are teams and leagues really still do not know their fan down to the individual. And finally, we have the compute speed and power that can happen, that you can have the data and understand what is Shelly like, what are her viewing behaviors, what teams, what athletes, what sports, and then message directly to you. That goes for viewership, fandom, but also sports betting. Most of the sports betting apps, when you log on, it's the same plays that you would see that I would see. Well, they should know my behaviors. They should know when I bet, what I like to bet, how I like to bet, and then continue to give me the Netflix or the Amazon approach, but around sports. And we think that's a massive opportunity of give the fans what they want.
Right.
Because they definitely want to be entertained. They want sports. You have to meet them where they're at.
Interesting. So I think it's really interesting this space is moving to, it sounds like in a way, at least the sport betting in not necessarily betting for the whole game that the Phillies are going to win. Of course, we're Phillies fans here in Philly, but that the next player is going to hit the ball out of the park. So can you talk a little bit about what that shift might look like and how that might impact the industry as a whole?
I mean, that was one of the big trends, Shelley, that we saw in Europe. A lot of the betting percentage is done in play in Europe. But before, and when it was unregulated prior to 2018 outside of Nevada, it was, before the tip, before the whistle blew, get your bet in. So the idea of changing betting behaviors and consumer behavior is taking shape. But Americans really enjoy, and it doesn't matter how much. If it's $5, $20, and you have action on the game, your interest level goes up exponentially, 20-fold of how much you're going to focus and watch that game through. And we saw that early. We invested in a company in 2018 called Swish Analytics.
Okay.
And most people do not know Swish Analytics, but they could be the next unicorn we're talking about. That's how large they've grown over the last 10 years.
Wow.
And what they do is they set those in-game plays, those single-game parlays, and their team is built. They're all engineers. They use machine learning. They use the latest AI. So you kind of asked about, where's the technology headed? What are the trends? They have the smartest entrepreneurs working in sports.
Interesting.
And it's that back end play that no one necessarily knows who Swish Analytics is. But if you're in the industry, you definitely know about Swish.
Interesting. And so what are you excited about this year coming up? If we look at 2025, maybe into 2026. What's on the horizon? Are there any sports where there's really some big activity in terms of investment and strategy?
The whole industry continues to grow. Every year we're amazed by a team's sale value. I'm most excited about women's sports.
Okay.
Right. I'm most excited about the continuation of globalization in sports. The NFL is going to play another game in Brazil. They're now talking about, are they going to go over to Australia for a regular season game?
Exciting.
So it's the idea the NBA is very focused on a European league or having teams in Europe that will play regular season games. So it's the idea of thinking globally.
Right.
But the variations that we're seeing across women's sports, most recently with the Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 basketball league. You can take TGL, the new golf league that started with Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. Again, it's innovating, it's new. Some people hated it, some people love it, but their numbers were great this first season. Now they want to bring women into that, which is awesome, right? They want to possibly do it in different locations. So it's just, there's constant movement and everyone's talking and thinking through how can they get involved. And this is perfect for families that either have the liquidity, have been in sports, and most importantly want to tap into this area it's the right time to be investing in this asset class that's growing.
Interesting. And what kind of questions do you often get from families when you're working with family offices about this particular area? Is there anything that comes up as...
It's usually focused on what their family's akin to.
Okay.
Right. Are they from the States? Do they have kids that play baseball? Or are they from Europe and they're heavily focused on football for them,
Right.
soccer for us? So it's kind of sports specific, but it's
Okay.
all, they're super smart and they're always looking for the edge and the alpha. And it's what are the investment areas? And so again, I kind of say, peel it back. Let's not talk about sports, but let's talk about using the latest technology. Let's talk about venture and
Right.
the possibilities of reaching alpha in the return. But you have to find the asset class that hasn't been completely disrupted and hasn't been oversaturated. And that's what sports is to us. It's a growing asset class that there's only a number of investors, but you're seeing the liquidity, you're seeing the opportunities. And for us at 76 Capital, it's how big and how strategically fast can we continue to move.
Right.
And right now, we've always been known for early stage, kind of seed to A. We think there's a lot of opportunity beyond A.
Okay.
And that's a lot of what we're thinking
Right.
as we move
Excellent.
forward in 25 and beyond, that, to have a healthy ecosystem, you have seed the IPO.
Right.
And who are those players? Right now, it's a little bit of a barbell. You have players on the early stage side. You have a lot of private equity that's focused on minority ownership in teams and leagues and media rights. And it's pretty wide open in the middle. And that is not just on the whiteboard, but
Right.
that is a focus of ours. We
Excellent.
just did our third fund, and as we continue to raise investment vehicles.
Yeah. So if you look back over the trajectory of 76 Capital, is there anything that you all would do differently or that you would like to have known as you were getting into this space?
I think it's one where you never want to say woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Right.
Because there was a meteoric rise when I partnered with Wayne in 2012. But Wayne's kind of 99 to 2012
Okay.
was meteoric. Some amazing exits, some incredible success in venture. But when we decided to focus only on sports and the technology disrupting it, for us, it really focused us too.
Yeah.
Because we weren't, when Wayne got going, he was a generalist. The latest technology across healthcare, finance, consumer. And that was in vogue back then. But it really helped us focus on sports. It's what we're known for today. It's a blast.
Right.
We love being in the space in general. But I would just say maybe we would have just done it a little earlier.
Right.
Right? Maybe we would have, but everything plays through, and I think we timed it incredibly well, and it's paid off for us.
Interesting. Yeah. And the other question I just have for you is what am I forgetting here in our podcast interview? Is there something that you're dying to tell me about, or another step forward that you'd like to talk to?
For us, it's just how can we continue to educate and learn from others? Right? We don't sit here and say we know everything. Right? So we just want to be in the conversations. We want to be in and around other investors that want to get into the space or have dabbled in the space, and we just want to do more. We want to partner. Right now, we're kind of friends with the industry. I think as things continue to get more competitive, as any other industry that's gotten saturated over the years, it does get competitive. But right now, we're friends with the team owners, we're friends with the athletes, we're friends with the investors,
Excellent.
and everything in between. And we just want to, you have to learn from the fans, you have to learn
Absolutely.
from each other. And we're excited to be where we're at, and more importantly, where we're going.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you in Philadelphia because I think,
Thank you.
like I said, we're proud of what you and Wayne have built, and it's a Philadelphia institution. Excellent. So now we have our lightning round, and
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, here you go. So my first question is, I'm interested in NIL and what's happening with that. So what do you see happening in the high school market? Are we moving in that direction?
We are. It's happening already.
Interesting.
It's driven by the state, so the state can determine what's happening. But we're already there. I think as a parent of younger ones that are playing sports but moving into high school, I think at some point there are concerns. you want kids to be kids.
Right.
You don't want to look at them as kind of the next meal ticket. But also, the ones that are really talented are getting paid, are getting noticed. And so it's happening.
Interesting.
We'll see how this plays through. I think there's enough to focus on from an investment in college, but you have to be aware and to be a smart investor, you have to understand everything that's happening. It's going to happen in high school. Like, hopefully, kind of that's where it stops. But you're seeing, really the need for, there's going to be another IMG, or there's going to be IMGs across the country. That opportunity is there, and there's athletes that are in high school that are ready for the next level. And so you have to have something that can serve them.
Interesting. And so tell me a little bit about the fact that you all have been in business and in this space a pretty long time, at least for this particular space. So are you like a fulcrum? Do people come to you? Are you the first place that folks turn? You talk a little bit to that.
That's been a massive emphasis for us always across the 26 years to work hand in hand with the entrepreneurs, to be known as the investors that help the entrepreneurs, that do whatever it takes to not only grow those companies, but help them exit. So for us, we've been blessed to get to work in the space for 26 years. And I think our brand is synonymous with, being that fulcrum, as you said, that the entrepreneurs come to us, then people think again about who's investing in sports and sports technology. They think of 76 Capital, and that's what we want. But again, you can't, you want to make sure you're that first call, you're that first email. And that is continually going of building the brand, of doing everything you can, from social media to events to being in person to attract the deals. And once you have that entrepreneur network, it just builds on itself, as we all know.
Yeah, interesting. And so we're here in beautiful Philadelphia. So I have to ask you, what attracted you all to Philadelphia? Why here?
Sure. I think we all have roots in the region. My mom grew up in the Philly area. I grew up in Lancaster. Wayne grew up in Delaware, but close to Philly.
Right.
Our other partner, John, similar, grew up in Cherry Hill, and then his family is really well known in the King of Prussia area. So we kind of all have been around Philadelphia, and we're proud to be here. There's a number of incredible universities. There's a number of innovative things happening. We don't invest just in Philadelphia. We invest wherever the opportunity is. We have investments all across the world. But the fact that our team, for the most part, is based here, we're really proud of it, and it's worked really well for us.
Yeah, it's an exciting place. So the other thing is, what's your favorite Philadelphia sports team?
It ebbs and flows. It really does. I worked in my past career for the Philadelphia 76ers, for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Nice.
So having gotten to work for those two teams, and at the time it was Comcast Spectacor as the ownership, I would say at the moment it's the Philadelphia Union.
Okay.
We're very close with Alejandro Bedoya.
Nice.
He's been on the captain of the team. He's played for the U.S. national team for a number of years and in World Cups, and he's played globally, and he's a friend of 76 Capital.
Nice.
So we have that personal touch, and I also played soccer, so there's that for me. But look, the Eagles just won this.
Right, I know. We're in a good place.
Everyone's an Eagles fan. The Phillies are off to a good start. So it's just, that is what Philly is known for, the passion around sports, and they get to invest in Philly around sports. It's the greatest.
Yeah, and so do you think the Phillies are going to take us to the World Series this year?
So I think they left a little short last year, and I think they learned, but I think they have the core, and they're a really strong team. The Dodgers, I don't know how, they seem like just a team that's superior to all, but it's super early, and we'll see. But I think the Phillies can get there, I do.
Awesome. I like to hear that. And so I'm curious about esports. So how do you see that industry? Is that part of what you do? What does that look like? It's
been an area we've invested in, kind of esports and gaming. And esports is the competitive area of gaming. And when you peel that back, a third of the world identifies as gamers.
Wow.
And if you're watching the youth, they love the game.
They do.
Whether it's the handheld, the console, watching others play video games is still kind of it's still kind of people like, I don't get it.
Right.
But it's no different. We watch professional athletes do things that we're not able to do. From an investment area, it's kind of been on a roller coaster.
Okay.
It had a really big rise kind of 2015 to the pandemic. The pandemic, unfortunately, set the competitive gaming side back. The publishers in the industry still have most of the power and most of the control. Again, we think of platform, picks and shovels of investing. So if we know gaming continues to be what's hot and what's growing, how can we invest across that? And that's done well for us. I would say right now we're kind of on the downward. I don't think there's as many areas to invest in across gaming and esports, but we'll see. It is only gotten more popular. But from an investment side, I think institutional investors are starting to move away from it a little bit, but things are cyclical.
Right.
We'll see. And athletes love the game. So it all kind of goes together. It's not siloed by any means.
Yeah, excellent. You mentioned IMG. I see that they're buying up kids' sports. And so what does that look like? And do you see that trend continuing to happen?
Right.
Can you speak to?
It's back to the opportunity of professionalization of youth sports, of college sports, and of pro sports, professionalizing professional sports. But on the youth side, there is. A lot of youth athletes are focused on leveling up and getting better. IMG has been the gold standard. But as I mentioned, I think there's a need for multiple IMGs or multiple versions of that. But I think this is going to continue to, once you have a great system and a great way of educating the students and showing them the game and making them better athletes holistically, there's going to be more of that and an interest of that across the families and across the athletes themselves. Again, it's tricky.
Right.
Where at what points does it get? But it's a big opportunity. There's a lot of dollars flowing there. I think that's going to be continuing. It's a trend we're following. You're seeing that with Harris Blitzer. They have their youth programs under Unrivaled. They brought up Ripken. They brought up Cooperstown. So it's not just IMG.
Right.
But this is happening, and we believe there's a need for it, no doubt.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. I think we're good. Thank you.